Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 22nd of November, now it's almost 10 o'clock in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. Second update will be a little bit late on my Patreon page, in which I will share additional news that will be reported by Russian media during the day. It's gonna be informal talk and the news summary. And dear friends, as many of you know, I do extra content for Patreon on regular basis, at least several times a week, in attempt to generate additional interest among members of our community, and I will be immensely grateful if you will consider to join my Patreon. You should see how happy I am whenever I'm receiving notification that I have new subscribers, so please consider to do so. Link is in the description box and in the pinned comment. That being said, I will continue with the announcement that yesterday, dear friends, I had a live stream yesterday evening and with a guest and Canadian historian, writer, founder of Canadian Patriot Review and geopolitical analyst Matthew Ahern did participate in live stream. We had a great conversation. It was very interesting to hear Matthew's take on current global events through prism of history. And if you did not receive notification from YouTube algorithm, which is very much possible, and if you are interested, please check that live stream. You can see it on my main YouTube channel on the first page. It really was a very interesting conversation, and I will definitely try to stay in touch with Matthew. And I had the idea to invite him at least once a month on our programs, if he will find the time to join conversation. That will be great. And I want also notice that it's not gonna be a surprise for Matthew, I guess, but he is very much shadow banned, probably more than I am, because yesterday little time passed after I in the live stream, and I checked numbers of the video, and we had at that point we had about 160 likes on the video, and only like 40 or 50, just a few dozen of views, which is technically impossible. How you're gonna have 160 likes, by the way, and just a few dozen of views, like three, 4 times less views? It's impossible, but that's how bad YouTube's algorithm really is. Because usually whenever a video has 150, 160, 200 views, 200 likes, views are 3-4 times more. That's how it works usually. But well, Matthew is shadow banned more than I am, I guess, and YouTube's administration and YouTube's algorithm don't really want his opinions to be heard by wider audience. But anyway, I hope you will find time to check this video, by the way. I hope you will find it interesting. It has, for this moment, 1,400 views, 1,470 views, although I'm quite sure real numbers are much higher, but YouTube algorithm will never show us real numbers. Anyway, that's been said, let's continue now. And first of all, short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. Well, according to reports from Russian media outlets, there was no significant changes on any of the sectors of the front line. It's the usual stuff: artillery duels almost on all the sectors, artillery duels between the sides, reckoning force operations, drone wars, and local scale offensives. Main hotspots, main activities are taking place, of course, in Kherson direction and also in Donetsk direction. When it comes to Kherson, area, Kiev regime continues to send more and more Ukrainian military units in these suicidal operations to cross Dnieper River and reinforce or enlarge these small footholds that Kiev regime has on the left bank. And dear friends, I did share this morning video how these crossings usually are ending, and you can see that video on my Telegram page. As you can see, some boats are already in the place and military personnel, they are preparing to launch crossing of Dnieper River, and then Lancet drone, Russian Lancet drone arrives, and well, that's what is happening. So I guess at least platoon of Ukrainian forces were neutralized with this just one Lancet drone. At point when Ukrainian soldiers don't even begun crossing of the Dnieper River, but that's what is happening, by the way, in Kherson direction. I said from very beginning of this activization, latest activization of Ukrainian forces in the Kherson region, that it will be a trap for them. Russian side will create trap, and that's what really is happening according to many reports that I see on Russian pages, on Russian military pages, and even some officials, by the way, did stated that since this latest activization in the Kherson region, Kiev regime already lost more than 1,000 military personnel, and most of them, by the way, on the right bank or during this attempt to cross the Dnieper River. And when it comes to situation on the ground, as we all know, Ukrainian side has small bridgehead, not even bridgehead, by the way, just foothold on islands opposite of Golai Pristan. Also, Ukrainian forces are managing to hold on to their foothold right next to destroyed Antonovsky Bridge, not far away from Oleshki, and also Krinky, by the way, this small settlement where Ukrainian forces are still holding to central part of the village. And according to some reports, they did manage to enter this forested area and establish some positions in the forested area on the southern part of Krinky. But yet again, they are constantly under Russian artillery fire, missile fire, drone fire. They are in the trap and are taking a huge amount of casualties without achieving anything. And I said many times before, Ukrainian armed forces have not even a slight chance to achieve any more or less significant success on any of the sectors of the front line. So that's how it is. And dear friends, probably you'll also hear news when it comes to Kherson region that Kiev regime basically banning Ukrainian forces to evacuate wounded from the left bank, and also because recently many Ukrainian military personnel did surrender in Kherson region on the left bank. There are some reports that Kiev regime deployed on the right bank neo-Nazi blocking detachments that are basically opening fire towards any Ukrainian unit that will decide to surrender, lay down arms or surrender, or to cross the Dnieper back to the right bank. So that's how Kiev is operating, by the way. And just recently, about like 3 days ago, a video was circulating on internet. Probably many of you did see that video also, where this detachment unit of Ukrainian forces did open fire on another Ukrainian unit which was retreating from its positions. And these Ukrainian neo-Nazis and possibly mercenaries, because mercenaries also are used in these blocking units, open fire, direct fire on that retreating Ukrainian units. So that's how it is, man, on the front line. That's how Kiev regime operates. I guess majority of us are well informed about these tactics of Kiev regime, but for some it may become something, revelation, because not everyone quite actively monitoring news when it comes to situation in Ukraine. But anyway, let's continue. I did spoke about Kherson region. Overall, it's, by the way, operational pause, I will say. Nothing is happening that will influence, significantly influence situation in Kherson direction. And same we can say about Zaporozhye and Donetsk sectors of the front line. Russian forces are on offensive, but yet again, this is local scale offensive operations. Recently, many of you did probably notice that Russian forces were quite active in Zhiribyanki, Pitikhatki areas. Also, we are receiving information that Kamyansk also did become a direction of Russian military activities. But overall, and of course, Orekhov bridgehead, by the way. Of course, Orekhov bridgehead were quite a big concentration of Ukrainian forces still in this trap, I will say. And we are receiving on daily basis reports that Russian forces are preparing ground for further activization to basically encircle this Ukrainian grouping of forces in Orekhov bridgehead. At this point, I don't really understand why already this Ukrainian group of forces are not encircled, but there are some calculations, I guess. Probably Russian general staff wants this Orekhov bridgehead to remain as a trap for some time, because Kiev regime is basically forced to send more and more reinforcements in this area. And in circumstances when they are lacking manpower all along the front line, basically, of course, these local traps do play a significant role to stretch Ukrainian forces. But overall, in Zaporozhye or South Donetsk sectors of the front line, where main hotspots, of course, are Remesk salient, situation is, we can characterize as operational pause. Nothing is happening at this point that will influence any of these sectors in immediate future. When it comes to Donetsk direction, it's also usual stuff, several hotspots. On the southern flank of Donetsk direction, it's Avdiivka and Marinka. Yesterday, even Ukrainian Telegram channels did begin reporting that most likely Marinka will end up under full Russian control in next several weeks, which is a possibility. Even if Ukrainian Telegram channels are reporting it, then probably the situation for Ukrainian forces in this area are very, very difficult. And when it comes to Avdiivka itself, Russian forces are improving their positions little by little, but yet again, no rush, no need to rush and conduct operations earlier than it's necessary. I guess 3, 4, 5 weeks, Russian side will wait until garnison of Avdiivka will begin experiencing severe shortages of munition, supplies, and also reinforcements. And after that, when winter also winter weather will begin plays its roles, then we will probably see Russian offensive, final push on Avdiivka, and I expect that during the Avdiivka operation we will see a big number of Ukrainian forces surrender. I expect battalions, by the way, no less than battalions, big units to surrender. I'm quite sure that's what will happen in Avdiivka. Probably 1,000-2,000 Ukrainian military personnel will lay down arm and surrender, if not more, by the way. That's my understanding of situation when I'm reading all the news that are coming in. When you are analyzing it, it seems inevitable that Ukrainian forces are on the brink of breakdown in Avdiivka area and all along the front line, really. And I expect some negotiations will be held between Russian side and Ukrainian side, and Ukrainian officers, some of them at least, will make right decision and order their units, even on the scale of battalion, to lay down arms and surrender. No detachment or blocking units gonna stop this process, by the way. Process when more and more Ukrainian soldiers are realizing that they've been sacrificed by Kiev regime for geopolitical interests of Western ruling elites, and you know, it's only a matter of time when this woke up, these Ukrainian soldiers and officers will begin making right decisions in significant scale, in significant numbers. And when it comes to northern flank of Donetsk sector, which is Bakhmut and surrounding areas, also, by the way, Russian side is in a local, let's say, local scale offensives in this area, mainly in Andreevka, Klishevka directions, but also in the northern flanks of Bakhmut, Berkhovka water reservoir, Khramova, and so on. But yet again, nothing is happening in the scale that will influence in immediate future overall situation on this sector of the front line. Although we all understand, I guess, that it's only a matter of time when Konstantinovka and Chisov Yar will become next stage of Russian offensives in this area. And when it comes to northern sectors of the front line, also no significant changes. Artillery duels between the sides, local level skirmishes. Main hotspot, it's still, by the way, this village of Sinkovka, from which probably nothing is left at this point, and this forested area not far away from Kupiansk. But we did see reports that Russian side are ready to conduct large-scale operations on the northern sectors from Seversk to Kupiansk for quite a few months now. And I guess it all depends on general staff when they will greenlight Russian large-scale offensive operation. The Ukrainian side, despite many attempts, by the way, to regain initiative on any of their areas in the northern or any other sectors, by the way, they are failing, and these local-scale Ukrainian counteroffensives are just pure suicidal missions, really. That's what it is. And this is it when it comes to short summary of the Ukrainian battlefield situation on Ukrainian battlefield. I remind you, dear friends, that there is many specialized military channels that do provide significantly more detailed information about developments and local scale skirmishes on the line of contact, namely military summary, DPA war, Web Union, and many others. By the way, you can see those links to those channels in the description box. If you are interested but because my program is about news in general, I don't have a military channel. This channel is about news in general. I have to continue, and before I do so, let me notice, dear friends, that this project with several channels on YouTube, Rumble, Telegram exists solely thanks to support of members of our community, and I of course thank everyone for the support, and I will be immensely grateful if you will also consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal, buy me a coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You can see links on this video in description box or in the pinned comment. Hopefully sometime in the future I will have some advertising, and I will have a little more funds to operate little freely, but at this point this project entirely depends on support of our community. Let's continue. TASS news agency is reporting, by the way, that this morning 4 Ukrainian maritime drones were destroyed in the Black Sea. While they were moving in direction of Crimea. Not the first, and I'm afraid not the last attempt of Kyiv regime to conduct maritime drone strikes against Russian military and civilian ships in the Black Sea, in Crimea area. But it's good that Russian forces are ready for such development, and usually all these drones are destroyed before they can harm anybody. Also, by the way, RIA Novosti is reporting that Shoigu, Russian defense minister, did make quite interesting statements, by the way, yesterday afternoon. And I will share some of his statements with you. First of all, he said that since the beginning of the November, Ukrainian forces lost more than 13,000 military personnel, killed and wounded, almost 14,000, by the way, 13,700, which is of course huge number. And one of the indicators, by the way, we definitely can take this statement from Shoigu as one of the indicators that Ukrainian forces are on the brink of collapsing. And it's only a matter of, at this point, it's only a matter of weeks, not even months, by the way, weeks. And we will see big Ukrainian units, by the way, on the scale of battalions beginning surrendering, beginning to lay down arms and surrender. I expect this to happen anytime at this point, because after all, information is spreading, no matter how hard this Kiev regime's propaganda is and how isolated these Ukrainian units are. Information is spreading, and more Ukrainian military personnel realizing that they have been sacrificed by Kiev regime, not for Ukraine, by the way, but for geopolitical interests of the Western ruling class. RIA Novosti is reporting that Russian defense minister simultaneously did make statements about readiness of Russian army, about work with the military-industrial complex, and how much new weapons the defense ministry will purchase or received already. And according to Shoigu, Russian army, since the beginning special military operation, Russian army did receive 16 times more drones than before. So drones definitely are becoming very significant asset for army. And the drone productions, by the way, are reaching some record heights. And new companies are created. For example, yesterday I was reading information that in Krasnodar region, if I'm not mistaken, mass production of drones began, and they are not just buying some parts in China, let's say, and reassembling them. No, they are producing entire drones on the spot with their own technologies. So, because, after all, of course, defense ministry is a big buyer at this point of drones, and these small companies have opportunity to establish themselves on the market. They will produce military-grade drones now, but they will, after special military operation will end, they will probably continue work with defense ministry, but simultaneously they will gain enough experience and they will have a spot on the market that they will begin producing civilian drones, also civilian goods. So yes, that's quite interesting that Russian defense ministry is receiving 16 times more drones since the beginning of special military operation. And by the way, Shoigu also did spoke about Russian fleet, and he said that 74% of Russian Navy is basically new equipment, equipped with new warships, new missiles, new weapons. Everything is new and modern. 74%. It's quite a good number, really, for any fleet. So, despite the Western sanctions, despite attempts from Western ruling class to destroy Russian economy, to destroy Russian military-industrial complex, well, we can see clearly that Russia is withstanding this pressure, and the Russian defense ministry is receiving not just weapons that was purchased before, but production of weapon systems increased multiple times in many directions. And also, by the way, for example, before end of this year, Russian Navy will receive 3 submarines that are carrying caliber cruise missiles. We are talking about diesel electric submarines in this particular case, one of the best in the world, and well, that's also quite an achievement. So before end of this year, it's only like months left, little more, and Russian Navy will have 3 more submarines. And by the way, Shoigu did also spoke about increased number of Ukrainian POWs. He did mention that more and more Ukrainians are laying down arms, and basically he did confirm what I was saying for many days now, that well, this process is intensifying, and I guess mainly because more and more Ukrainian soldiers are realizing that they have been sacrificed for geopolitical interest of the West or Western ruling class. And I believe no detachment units of Ukrainian neo-Nazis, no propaganda of Kyiv regime will not stop these militaries to try at least to save their lives. And best they can do, if they are on the front line, is to contact Russian side, lay down arms, and surrender. That will be best decision they can make for Ukraine, by the way, for Ukraine and Ukrainian society, to save their lives. Let's continue. And RIA Novosti is reporting that Russian Air Force, by the way, received a bunch of new Su-34 fighter bombers, which is also quite significant. Production of military aircraft, by the way, increased very, I mean, truly significantly in last 2 years. Almost on monthly basis now, new bunch of planes have been delivered to Russian Air Force. This time we are talking about frontline fighter bomber Su-34, very capable plane, in high demand, by the way, not just in Russia but worldwide, and one of the best sellers of Sukhoi Bureau. And well, let's continue. RT is reporting that Zelensky, by the way, complained that Russia is not isolated. Probably he had some pause from white powder and did begin thinking straight for a second or two, and he did realize that Russia is not isolated. Really, this idiot only now realizing this, that Russia is not isolated. But I guess he is so stupid, by the way. He's so stupid. He don't know geography, probably. Otherwise, if you know basics in geography and if you look at the map, you will know straight away that it's just technically impossible to isolate Russia. It's just impossible. That's it's not just because of politics and relationships between Russia and many countries worldwide, but also because of geography. It's so simple, but not for everybody, by the way, because what Zelensky type of people that probably did not read 2 books in their lives, they cannot understand, man. They cannot understand this. So let me read, by the way. Russia will not relent in its offensive against Ukraine because it does not feel that the global community stands in solidarity against it, President Vladimir Zelensky said on Monday. He ruled out peace with Russia at any price, despite Moscow repeatedly declared that it's open to talk with Kiev. Yet again, Zelensky denies or declines any possible peace talks with Moscow. But yet again, main point is that it seems like, I mean, he's only now realizing what's going on, that Russia is not isolated. Of course not, and the vast majority, by the way, of humanity is in support of Russia. It's just, you know, numbers are not lying. Vast majority of human civilization right now, as we speak, are in support of Russia. And it was always like that, since the beginning of special military operation. And as time goes by, more and more people worldwide do realize that Russia is on the right side of history, not this mass murderer Zelensky and his Western criminal masters. Simple. And when it comes to negotiations, by the way, I said many times before, of course, being diplomatic, Moscow, officials from Moscow, from Russia did say many times that they are ready to conduct negotiations on different levels. But when it comes to Zelensky himself, he is not negotiable. I don't think Putin will seriously consider to have a talk with him. It's just not possible, by the way. You cannot take this drug addict, a mass murderer, seriously. You cannot talk with him, man. It's only Western so-called elites that are one after another visiting Kiev and having talk with this clown, this bloody clown, because they have no self-respect, I guess. These Western high-ranking officials, they probably do not respect themselves, they don't respect their countries that they represent, and they don't respect the societies that they are coming from. That's the only explanation I can find for it. And dear friends, that's been said. I guess many people in the ruling class of the West are realizing that Zelensky is not negotiable, and he will be removed from office in fairly short time, I believe. And whoever gonna be next leader of Kiev regime, Zaluzhny, current head of general staff, or anybody else, I'm quite sure Western elites will make sure that we will do their best to put in power to replace Zelensky with a figure that will be negotiable from Moscow's point of view. Let's continue now. And RT is reporting that yet another criminal and mass murderer from Ukraine, this Alexei Danilov, the secretary of Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council, did said that Ukraine or Kiev regime is concerned by Western push for peace talks. They are realizing that they have been pushed aside, and they are beginning to fear for their future, and that's these statements are coming from in reality. But what is also interesting, by the way, this stupid individual, this Danilov, who is calling, by the way, just to know, he is calling in Ukraine youngsters to be mobilized, students and teenagers to be drafted and sent to the front line, while his own sons, by the way, his sons are in the US, in the West, and he sent his sons out of Ukraine a week before special military operation began. They are military age, they are reservists, but they are out of Ukraine. So these criminals, by the way, they are very much in favor to send sons and daughters of other people to the front line to die for interests, geopolitical interests of the West, but they are not willing to risk with their own kids. That's people that are, formally in charge in Ukraine. So, and you can check, by the way, you can check. His sons are in US, if I'm not mistaken. A Ukrainian blogger, Anatoly Shary, did talks quite often about these Ukrainian officials whose kids have been evacuated from Ukraine before, right before special military operation began, or a few days after. And Danilov is among them. And also this mass murderer also said, by the way, that he also said that after presidential elections in Russia, well, when Putin will solidify his position and his next presidential term, he will begin full-scale mobilization in Russia, and Russia will start full-scale war against Ukraine. Yet again, who he is talking to with this nonsense? If Putin and Russian Defense Ministry were planning to mobilize people they can do it anytime, by the way, right now. And I guess they will have no issues to mobilize 2-3 million people in a month's time. And the rating of Putin will not decline. And Putin will still win presidential election. Although he did not yet said that he will participate in 2024 presidential election, but probably he will. And if he will conduct mobilization right now, he will still be most popular politician in the world. In Russia for sure. And in the world also, by the way, I guess. One of the most popular. If we are talking about world scale. So what Danilov is talking about, man? I did mention when it was, a topic of mobilization in discussion in media here in Russia, I did said many times before that it's quite possible that Russian side at some point will conduct second wave of mobilization. Not to send these newly mobilized people on the front line, no, but to send these people in liberated territories to conduct policing operations. Because at this point on the front line and in the reserves, Russian side has enough forces to conduct large-scale offensive operations. But when these forces are moving forward, you need additional troops to police areas that have been liberated. So because of the vastness of Ukraine, a territory that we are talking about, theoretically, it may well be that Russian side will conduct mobilization, but it definitely not depends on elections, by the way. Presidential elections will be won by Putin anyway, if right today mobilization will begin. So this, I don't know who Danilov is trying to scare with such statements that there will be full-scale mobilization after presidential elections, and once Putin will solidify his next presidential term. What he gonna solidify? He's like 30-40% of head of next most popular politician in Russia. So what he's gonna solidify? He's anyway most popular politician, like it or not, but that's how it is. But anyway, let's continue. RIA Novosti is reporting that according to media, by the way, EU plans of military aid for Kiev regime for next 4 years, which will worth 20 billion euros, by the way, is in jeopardy. Is in jeopardy because some members of EU are still opposing military aid to be continued when it comes to Kiev regime. And of course, we know which countries are opposing this constant flow of money and weapons from EU to Kiev regime. It's Hungary and it's Slovakia. So recently, EU Brussels bureaucrats were talking about 50 billion euros. Now they are talking about 20 billion euros. I wouldn't be surprised in a week or 2 weeks time they will come up with new idea, about let's allocate 10 billion euros. Or it's unbelievable, man. It's unbelievable. And same time, citizens of European states are watching this bunch of idiots, how they are throwing away or how they are operating with the money, European taxpayers' money, and probably are thinking how they end up in such a situation. That these non-elected people, by the way, these EU bureaucrats are throwing left and right taxpayers billions like it's nothing, when so much good can be done in EU states with this money, isn't it? And let's be honest, by the way, many EU states are in not exactly in the best economical, political or social situation, and many people do need support. Many cities do need some investments to improve infrastructure, to do many things. And this time, these EU bureaucrats throwing away, or at least trying to throw away, tens of billions of taxpayers' money. It's crazy. And they already did, by the way, send to Zelensky's regime who knows how many billions. Definitely more than 50 billion euro. TASS news agency is also reporting that EU, by the way, and this is based on article in Financial Times, EU bureaucrats are considering to ограничить, let me translate this, by the way, just a sec. So EU countries are discussing the possibility to limiting the freedom of movement within the Schengen zone of Russian diplomats accredited in the community countries, in the EU countries. The Financial Times reported about this. So, well, I guess these officials, EU officials or officials in EU member states, some of them at least, have nothing to do really, except come up with some new anti-Russian idea. And this time they are discussing how to limit freedom of movement to Russian diplomats, of Russian diplomats. How crazy is that, man? I mean, this is, if this is not a pure Russophobia, by the way, then what this is? They will come up with some justifications. They always do, man. They try, because they cannot. They do understand that to be this Russophobe, to be xenophobe is bad. They have this understanding, but they cannot help themselves. They are Russophobes, by the way. They are xenophobes. They are Nazis and racists and fascists, basically. That's what they are, these so-called elites of the West. And they just cannot help themselves. They are creating this, they are coming up with these ideas that are pure xenophobic, and they are beginning to find some justification for this craziness. But it is what it is, man. It's shame to see this level of degradation of European political class, by the way. There was some times when Europe had, great leaders, great politicians, but those times are long gone, by the way. Today, I will only probably say that Hungary, by the way, stands out for sure. From EU member states and the leadership of Hungary, they definitely prove that they are top class politicians. And that's it, really. Slovakia, since the latest elections, has new government, but it will take some time to see how this government will do. At this point, they are acting according their promises before election, but let's see. It does need some time to have a better understanding about Slovakia's current position, and Slovakia's government. But Hungary, by the way, for many years, even before special military operation began, they did prove that they are serving Hungary's society, and they are doing whatever it's necessary to protect Hungary's best interests. And not that many countries in EU are on the same page, isn't it? Anyway, let's continue. RT is reporting that, well, this is also interesting. NATO does not see Russian military threat at this point. And this was said by none other than head of NATO, by the way, Jens Stoltenberg. This clown is also, something out of this world, because there are times when he feels, I guess, that Russia is danger. And if Russia is not stopped in Ukraine, then Russia will occupy, entire Europe, and then entire world, and then entire, solar system, and then galaxy. And also neighboring galaxies. That's how crazy they are, man. But there are some times, like now, when for whatever reason some adequacy wakes up in these people, and they are beginning to talk some quite understandable stuff, that Russia is not a military threat to NATO, which is true, by the way, and Russia never positioned itself as a threat to anybody, isn't it? So let me read several sentences, by the way. There is no imminent military threat from Russia to any NATO member or the Balkan region, the bloc's Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg told reporters on Tuesday. Stoltenberg was visiting North Macedonia, a former Yugoslav republic that joined NATO in 2019. In a joint press conference with the Prime Minister Dmitry Kovachevsky, he was asked about Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky's recent claim that Russia had plans to destabilize the Balkans. We do not see any imminent military threat from Russia against any NATO ally or region, the Norwegian politician replied. Well, okay. I guess sometime adequacy does wakes up in this mostly crazy European politicians, and we do hear some quite understandable sentences, but yet again, Russia never ever positioned itself as a threat to anybody. If Russia is forced to act, then yes, Russia can act. Although we'll try maximum to avoid escalation. But if Russia is not provoked, I mean, look at the map, by the way. Why Russia should act aggressively against anybody? I mean, why? Especially Europe, by the way. RT is reporting that Israel, by the way, approves hostage deal with Hamas. Next big topic, escalation in Middle East. So as we all know, in Qatar, by the way, there was some negotiations between Israeli representatives and Hamas representatives. Some deal was reached, and Israeli government's approval was needed to go ahead with this deal. So let me read several sentences from this news. The Israeli government has voted to accept the deal for temporary ceasefire in Gaza, during which some hostages held by Hamas militants will be exchanged for Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails. Local media reported early Wednesday morning. The Israeli cabinet decision was backed by all branches of the Israeli security services, the IDF, Shin Bet, and the Mossad. A senior Israeli official told Haaretz, Israeli newspaper. The Palestinian militants are expected to release around 50 Israeli women and children once a pause in the fighting commences, Reuters report. The first hostages may be released as soon as Thursday, unless the Supreme Court challenges the agreement and blocks the release of Palestinian prisoners. Israel is set to publish a list of Palestinian prisoners set for release, and the public will have 24 hours to file their objections. The list will reportedly include some 150 Palestinians, mostly women and children, none of whom are accused of killing Israelis. So, as we can see, some agreement have been reached between the sides, and it's quite possible that today statements will be made about pause in Israel's military operation in Gaza, at least for 4 days, as I understand. Let's see how the situation develop. Also, by the way, RT is reporting that according to Lavrov, Russian foreign minister, Palestinian statehood talks are needed again, A restart of the Israeli-Palestinian peace process is urgently needed to resolve the conflict amid current escalation in Gaza, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said on Tuesday. This will require a collective diplomatic mechanism aimed at the creation of a Palestinian state, Lavrov told the joint delegation of the Arab League and the Islamic Cooperation Organization in Moscow. Their continued violence, which has already led to catastrophic humanitarian consequences, vividly demonstrates how dangerous the approach of ignoring international law is, he said, referring the Israeli bombardment of the Palestinian enclave, which has killed thousands of civilians. Well, at this point, and dear friends, yesterday during the live stream, me and Matthew Ehret also did touched on this subject, that this topic of two-state solution is gaining momentum yet again, and from UN, from Russia, from many other countries, from Brazil and so on, South Africa, China, by the way, we are receiving statements, we are hearing statements that works have to be done on this two-state solution to become workable. But yet again, will Israeli government consider to work on this topic, work on this direction? That's the biggest question at this point, and I guess it depends on Washington and London, really, because if they will pressure Tel Aviv, we may see the escalation and we may see beginning of the work on two-state solution, because only capitals that Netanyahu's government probably will listen are Washington and London. But if Netanyahu's government is not under no pressure from ruling Western class, from Washington and London, then I don't think he or his associates will even think about two-state solution. Let's see. RT is also reporting, by the way, that BRICS was asked to label Israel as a terrorist state. So Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi called on the BRICS nations to designate the Israeli government and its military as a terrorist organizations over the alleged war crimes against the Palestinians. He submitted the request to the group's online extraordinary joint meeting on the Middle East situation in the Gaza on Tuesday. Well, I guess many people worldwide will agree with the initiative of President Raisi. But I don't think BRICS as an organization in a position to call Israel a terrorist state or to call Israeli government as a terrorist organization. BRICS is an economical organization mainly, although of course there is some political element, undoubtedly, but well, I don't think this type of move will help in any ways to de-escalate. So probably I can understand the Iranian president is coming from, and everybody understands, because I mean we all see these atrocities that was committed against Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip, but I don't think further escalation with Israel, including from BRICS, will help in any way to de-escalate. It will only aggravate situations. So I guess BRICS will ignore this call this time. Let's continue. RIA Novosti is reporting that Putin, by the way, yesterday, as many of you know, there was emergency summit of BRICS, and Putin did participate through video call in this summit, and he said that BRICS is ready to play a key role in the escalation. between Israel and Palestine. All it takes is both sides to agree that they will receive help, diplomatic help from BRICS. And by the way, BRICS definitely has some heavyweight politicians that can play positive role to de-escalate. Yet again, it all depends. I guess Palestinians will agree, but it all depends on position of Israeli government. Do they have plans to de-escalate, or they have plans to further escalate? That's a major question at this point. Let's continue. And RT is reporting, by the way, that Serbia pledges to improve relations with the NATO, which is quite understandable, really. Belgrade is acting military neutral since the beginning of special military operation. Belgrade is not very keen to join NATO, but Belgrade did try to maintain as good relationships with Russia as possible. Did not impose any sanctions on Russia and so on. But yet again, we should always remember that Serbia is encircled, by the way. Serbia is encircled and under constant pressure. And I guess at some point, discussions will begin in Serbia, or maybe already are discussions that, maybe if EU and NATO will help Serbia to resolve issues with Kosovo, maybe they will consider to join EU and NATO. Maybe some negotiations are taking place or will take place in this direction. And when it comes to Serbia and Kosovo, by the way, I guess confederation is the way to go, or if federation, then with the autonomy, with the autonomy of Kosovo. But will Albania or Kosovo agrees on this? This is also a question. So very difficult situation in Balkans. But when I see this type of information that Serbia is, closing relationships or getting closer to EU and NATO slightly, it does not make me angry. Some people may get a little angry in Russia because we see Serbia as a brotherly nation, and if whenever Serbia is getting closer to enemies of Russia, let's say, of course it does aggravate some people. And when I say enemies, by the way, I don't mean countries, I mean elites of the West. I want to be clear about it. I don't see as enemies of Russia any country really in this world. But I did see enemies in ruling elites of many states in the West. But anyway, let's continue. We are a really difficult situation in Balkans, of course, and Serbia is Serbian government, I guess, doing its best to not just stay neutral and to maintain relationships with Russia, which is I guess important for Serbia also, but Serbia is trying to trying its best to resolve the issue with Kosovo, because I don't think Belgrade needs any military confrontation in that area. And I believe federation or confederation, when Kosovo is joining one way or another Serbia with huge autonomy, it's a solution. But to achieve this, NATO have to pressure Kosovo's current government. Anyway, let's continue. RT is reporting that Poland, by the way, rejects the idea of an imaginary EU army and sees the US as its key military partner. The country's defense minister, Mariusz Błaszczak, declared on Tuesday in its bid to build the strongest land army in Europe. He contended Warsaw has aggressively counted on Washington. So, well, to say it in short, Poland is definitely planning to build the strongest army in Europe, and they are moving in this direction, and they definitely are. Historically, by the way, they if you take 20th century, for example, Poland was always closer to London and Washington than any other capital in Europe, and it stays this way. It is this way now, and it will stay this way. And this idea of EU army, of course, are circulating for quite a while now in EU, but I did not even know that this idea is still alive, because Washington and London did try their best to reanimate NATO, to bring to NATO new life by, provoking this conflict in Ukraine and demonizing Russia. And I guess NATO is alive again. And why EU member states should build some alternative army out of NATO, I don't know. But I know that some time ago, some years ago, a European army was quite a topic of discussion among EU leaders. TASS news agency is reporting, by the way, that Pakistan did make decision to join BRICS, which is quite interesting, somewhat surprising, but interesting. So in Islamabad has applied to join BRICS in 2024 and is counting on Russia's assistance in their matter of the republics joining the association. The new ambassador of Pakistan to Russia, Muhammad Khalid Jamali, stated during his first interview with the TASS. So very interesting news. Yesterday we received information that this new president of Argentina will keep his country out of BRICS, on a distance from BRICS nations. He basically pledged his allegiance to the US, to Washington. Okay, I'm quite sure BRICS gonna be way better without Argentina. I can only feel sorry for citizens of Argentina, dear friends, that they were in such a difficult situation. I guess that they did vote for this very strange individual that become president of Argentina, man. He's like a Pinochet wannabe type of person. As I said yesterday, more I learn about him, and more I read, more questions I have. What Argentinians were thinking while voting for this individual, but and I'm quite sure BRICS would be very helpful to Argentina, very helpful. But now Argentina is out of question. Argentina will not join BRICS, but Pakistan may. And well, Russia and China probably will support this idea, undoubtedly. And I was kind of surprised because well, current leadership of Pakistan did not necessarily act in the friendly way towards this idea of multipolarity, at least before now. Maybe some things are changing in Pakistan. Who knows? That's possibility. Let's continue. TASS news agency is reporting that North Korea, by the way, did launch its spy satellite successfully. At least that's information that we are receiving now. And of course, neighbors of North Korea, namely South Korea and Japan, were stressed by this launch of this missile. But well, everything went okay. No emergency situations, but of course everybody, not everybody, but South Korea, Japan, US, and then many other countries will probably condemn North Korea for launching this missile. It's usual stuff. It always happens this way. RT is, by the way, also reporting that Polish truckers protesting on the border with Ukraine could be joined by a group of farmers later this week. According to Bloomberg's report on Monday, the truckers are demanding tighter rules for the Ukrainian competitors and have been blocking border checkpoints, meaning some cargo vehicles carrying humanitarian aid for Kiev have been unable to pass. As many as 20,000 vehicles have reportedly been stuck on each side of the Ukrainian-Polish border as a result of the strike. And dear friends, simultaneous strikes of truckers are taking place, and also farmers, if I'm not mistaken, are taking place in Slovakia, on the border crossings of Ukraine and Slovakia. And people in both countries, in Poland and Slovakia, are more and more impatient, let's say this way, impatient when it comes to some actions that Brussels are taking towards Ukraine that jeopardize interests of locals in Eastern European countries that are bordering Ukraine. In this particular case, Poland and Slovakia, but and actions are taken, by the way. People are, are not afraid to express their feelings, and they are blocking checkpoints. And just imagine 20,000 cars, by the way, 20,000 vehicles are waiting on checkpoints when it comes to Polish and Ukrainian border. 20,000 vehicles on both sides. Just imagine what's going on there. But seems like, well, Polish truckers and farmers are very much determined to protect their interests. So I don't think this issue will be resolved anytime soon. RIA Novosti is reporting, by the way, that surprisingly, Justice Ministry of Finland stated that it will be illegal if Finnish government will cross border crossings with Russia. And as we know, yesterday and day before, there were some statements that Finnish government may close all the crossings with Russia, border crossings. And well, Justice Ministry stepped in and said that this decision cannot be made. It will be illegal. And well, great. At least some people in Finnish government, in Justice Ministry in this case, are saying and are operating according to law, not some political bias or ideology, like top leadership of Finland does for quite a while now. Let's continue. And by the way, Russian foreign ministry did make statements that they are ready to assist Finnish side to deal with this border crisis. And I remind you, dear friends, that issue on the border between Russia and Finland become active when dozens and dozens of refugees from Middle East and Africa made decision to enter Finland, to use Russia as a transit country, to reach Finland. And the Finnish side is trying now to somehow shut down borders to secure itself from this wave of refugees. And Russian side did said that they are ready to assist, but Russia cannot shut down its borders to other countries, citizens of which are planning to use Russia as a transit country to reach European EU states, isn't it? So, and at the same time, to shut down border between Russia and Finland is also not really a right decision in my understanding, and I guess Finnish Justice Ministry is agree with me on this. But anyway, let's continue. RT is reporting that most Russian firms, by the way, have adapted to sanctions, survey says. So majority of Russian companies have adapted to operating under sanctions. Business Daily Commerçant reported on a Tuesday, citing survey according to Russian Union of Industrialists and Entrepreneurs. Most firms have successfully replaced Western supplies with the domestic manufacturers or producers from the friendly states. They learn the term friendly refers to countries that have not imposed sanctions on Russia in connection with the Ukrainian conflict. Well, it was expected, of course, that Russian business will find a way to continue operating without partnerships with Western companies. And same time, by the way, as we all know, many Western companies are finding ways to maintain in Russia from some third countries, and there are some different schemes, by the way, how many big companies, not just small companies, but huge companies, by the way, huge Western companies are finding ways to somehow maintain on Russian market, and of course they are continuing to do business with the Russian counterparts. And also, by the way, these Western sanctions significantly increase local investments on local production, and in some sense, these sanctions was a kind of blessing for Russia, because we did see unimaginable increase in internal investments in production on here in Russia. And many things that was imported before are produced in Russia right now. And also, by the way, of course, friendly nations. There are so many friendly nations worldwide. The world is much bigger than the Western states, isn't it? Or collective West. So there are so many friendly nations worldwide that are, happy to establish themselves on the Russian market. So no surprises here that Russian business did manage to adapt to the sanction wars. And also, by the way, RT is reporting that Russia reports a big surge in tax revenues. So a total of 428 billion US dollars, which is 37.6 trillion rubles, was raised in the first 10 months of the 2023, according to the fiscal authorities. Well, not bad. This is in fact up 41 billion compared to the last year. So, well, 41 billion is quite money, really. So big jump when it comes to tax revenues. And just recently, by the way, Russian officials did begin making these slightly optimistic statements that budget deficit may not be, maybe even less than they were anticipating initially. And probably that's why, because of increase in tax revenues. And tax revenues are increasing because, as I said, by the way, at some point Russian economy was on the verge of overheating, or maybe still on the verge of overheating. And there are huge amounts of internal investments in Russia, especially in industrial sectors. and well, base for taxes increasing, and therefore revenues of a federal budget. So quite good news, and I mentioned deficit of budget, by the way, and according to latest that I read, even though deficit will be significantly less than expected previously, mainly because of increasing tax revenues, but still there will be some deficit, which will be no more than 1% of Russia's GDP. So yet again, one more indicator that economy, despite this Western pressure and sanctions and so on, are doing quite okay, really, quite okay, surprisingly good, if we take in account all the pressure that was, all the sanctions and pressure that Russia is forced to operate in. And this is it for now. This is it for now, dear friends. I hope you will find this update interesting. And if so, please consider to click that like button and leave some commentary about any topic you like, and as many comments as you can. In my understanding, likes and comments are only way that we can fight back YouTube's immensely unfair and aggressive algorithm. And for very same reason, dear friends, if you can, please share links to my videos or my channel with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, Telegram, or X, or any other platform that you are active on. That will definitely help to reach wider audience, and maybe before New Year we will manage to reach 20,000, which 20,000 subscribers, which will be great, of course. Our community is growing little by little, and well, finally, if you think, dear friends, that this project with these several channels on YouTube, Rumble, and Telegram are interesting, informative, useful, and has some potential or deserves to exist in this field of independent media, please consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You can see links on this video in the description box or in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care. See you soon.